Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our crypto economics channel again, this time for a special video for the project Monero. Today we're going to be talking everything you need to know about the XMR project. And obviously this is as part of our special playlist where we work on different projects in crypto industry to explain everything you need to know from fundamental and technical analysis for this particular project. Again, I would advise you to follow our channel, Crypto Economics on YouTube, to be able to get more of this, I would say, knowledge about the crypto industry. Additionally, expect that soon we are going to continue working on our fundamental and technical analysis special playlists where you can upgrade your knowledge into these two spheres. Additionally, you can find our currently channel on several different social media networks like Facebook, and I would suggest you find everyone else on the YouTube channel main page where you can follow us on the different social media. As we mentioned before, this is not the first blockchain that we are currently analyzing. We're analyzing it depending on, first of all, what type of technology is trying to develop. This is the first thing that we're currently trying to understand about every one of these projects. So as you can see, as per our channel, there are 20 different categories of technology that is currently being developed in the blockchain industry. In this particular project, we're talking about privacy coins, where other examples that you maybe know are also Zcash, Dash, etc., etc. Also, for us to have a complete idea of what type of a project we're actually discussing and analyzing, we're going to go through these 6 groups of questions to understand exactly everything more or less you need to know as a beginner for this particular project. Don't forget, this is not the only analysis you need. You always need to do your own research, and you always need to upgrade this analysis to have a better understanding of the project itself. Now, we always start with the first, that's the application and practical use case of this coin. And then we're going to answer all the rest, but not in this particular order. But at the end of the video, you will have all these questions answered. First one, as always, are there any other projects that are competing with it? As we mentioned, this is particularly a privacy type of coin. And if we check what other coins are also mentioned in the special table of other privacy coins that are currently involved in this type of technology as per CoinGecko, we can see that Zcash is on first place, but Zcash is currently on first place. Monero was the top dog of this category for a very long time. Also, we can see Chainlink, Litecoin, Near protocol, which I would advise are not privacy protocols. They just have part of their blockchain connected to this particular sphere in the crypto industry. Otherwise, the only one that I can see over here is Midnight and Dash. These two are privacy protocols, which are also developing this type of technology. So Zcash, Monero, Midnight, and Dash are the top 4 blockchain protocols currently that are devising this kind of technology. Are there any real-world applications that can replace it? No, not whatsoever, because the traditional software cannot solve this particular problem when we are talking about privacy. We're going to explain everything in details a little bit later on. But the basic idea about privacy in blockchain is, especially in these 2 projects, that practically nothing is visible. So from the moment you send somebody a transaction, even if you want to check on the explorer of this particular blockchain, we're talking about Monero, you will not be able to find more or less no information about the transaction itself. So everything is private. From the amount that was sent to the person that received it, also, even if you can see the transaction itself, you can only see that it was completed, nothing else. You cannot see the top 100 largest wallets. So practically, this blockchain really takes privacy issues very seriously. Second thing we need to mention is this project is around 6 billion in market capitalization, which means it classifies as a middle type of project. Every project that is up to 1 billion market cap is considered micro, 1 to 5 billion, small, 5 to 10 billion, middle, and above 10 billion large blockchain project. So in this particular case, especially since we are somewhere around the bottom of this bear market, to have a middle range market capitalization is very impressive. So good job to Monero. Also, we can see that it's a layer 1, which means that you can develop applications on this blockchain, as well as also it's a smart contract compatible blockchain. This is the part with the developing of decentralized applications. We can see that as per the CoinGecko, first of all, it's a 18th place currently on the top largest by market cap blockchains, and it's around 10th place when we're talking about layer 1s, something similar when we're talking about smart contract compatible, and also proof of work. Don't forget, unlike most of the projects that we have worked on this on our channel, this particular project is a proof of work type of project and is the 4th largest by market cap currently in the crypto sphere. So this also shows us that we will not be able to find anything regarding Monero when we are talking about ICOs. Why is that so? Because ICOs are initial coin offering where different projects, especially proof of stake type of projects, are offering part of their coins to more or less, most of the time, angel investors, or these are capital investment entities that can actually front run your project to be able to get it off the ground. Unlike that, the consensus mechanism, as we have said, is a proof of work special type of algorithm called RandomX, developed by the Monero community. And why is it so special? First of all, as we said, there is no pre-mined coins, which means that from the moment it started mining, this is around 2014, all the coins have been mined by miners. And the RandomX type of algorithm is so unique because this is a special algorithm that does not make you, force you practically, to use either CPU or GPU type of miners. You can use either. And on top of that, you don't need specialized newest model of this type of miners to be able to mine XMR. In this particular case, you can use even an old laptop to be able to mine XMR. More about mining, we're going to talk in the upcoming tabs. So the first and most important thing is that currently Monero is mining 0.6 Monero every 2 minutes. So every block that is written currently on Monero is 2 minutes long. And the reward for the miner that will be able to solve the algorithm the fastest is 0.6 XMR per block. So this practically gives Monero a very, very good inflation, for which we are going to talk a little bit later on when we talk about tokenomics, as we are currently talking now, but we're going to keep a little bit longer on the consensus mechanism. So far, all we need to know is that 0.6 is the reward that every miner is getting for solving a block. And since one Monero is $325, it means that there is somewhere around $200, less than $200 reward for every mined block every 2 minutes on this particular blockchain. Now, it does not have a halving, unlike Bitcoin, which every 4 years has a particular halving mechanism implemented on every 210,000 blocks. Over here, we have a block by block decay, which means that every mined block, the next one will have a lesser reward. But this was done so until 2022, when this block by block decay mechanism has ended. Currently, in 2026, the fixed reward, and there will be never less than 0.6 XMR, is set, which means that from now onwards, every block, every miner that will manage to mine the block will get exactly 0.6 XMR. Additionally, we need to mention that this makes the inflation of the blockchain very, very low. With this particular reward, there is less than 1%. We were actually trying to find is around 0.28% more or less from the total amount of coins in circulation is the actual inflation, which means it's a lot lower even than Bitcoin at the time. Now, as we can see, there was no inflation bug whatsoever until now. So 12 years and 82 days, the mechanism is working perfectly. And currently we have around 18,791,000 XMR coins in circulation. We can always check this. We can see that CoinGecko is also reporting this as well. So regarding the inflation, as we mentioned, this is how the comparison of Bitcoin and of Monero inflation looks like. As we can see, every 4 years we have the halving mechanism implemented on Bitcoin. Unlike that, this is how a block by block decay type of inflation works. And in 2022, we have actually a fixed inflation on 0.65, 0.6 XMR, which will be from now until eternity. Now, as we mentioned, it's a proof of work, which means that your special machine, CPU or GPU miner, needs to solve a particular algorithm, which is the algorithm X type of algorithm needs to be solved for you to be able to write the next block and to get the 0.6 XMR reward. Now, what is the difference? As we mentioned, although everybody can mine XMR, most probably the ones that have the better machines will be the ones able to solve the algorithm fastest. So if you want to do a solo mining, and for example, you don't have the highest tech currently in mining equipment, you will still be able to compete, but there is a big chance that there will be months before you will be able to mine any Monero block and get any Monero rewards. So this, for this particular reason, is called a lottery type of mining, where your machine might be able, in some particular cases, to solve a block and get you the 0.6 XMR reward. Unlike that, most of the miners opt out to use the pool option, where they can actually join a particular pool that mines XMR. And in this particular case, they're constantly getting XMR rewards. How do they do that? Because in this pool that they're actually joined, everyone that is mining is currently using their miners to potentially solve the block. But when they solve the block, this reward is getting shared among all the people that have actually contributed with the hash rate, with the mining power. So in this case, you will get some of the reward, but not the whole reward, obviously, and you will constantly be getting part of this reward. Now, the actual guide how to set up and how to do mining on Monero, you can find on the same video that you're currently watching in description in a link currently explaining everything. As we mentioned, the first thing you need to do is actually download the XM rig, which is a specialized software which is connected to the random X type of algorithm. In this case, you need to use this software to be able to mine. We're going to talk about mining a little bit later as well. Now, what you need to know, as we said before, this is how the pools look like at the moment. As you can see, this is the a specialized web page that actually shows how big are the mining pools currently on different blockchains. You can see, you can check for a lot of different blockchains. As you can see, most of the mining is currently focused in these mining pools. This is one of the, I would say, visible downsides to these particular projects and its potential downfall, but we're going to talk about it a little bit later. What we also can see is that one of these mining pools is currently controlling more than 36% of the total hash power for Monero. Now, this is something I need you to remember for our later explanation. Now, this is the top mining equipment I could have found for Monero. As you can see, this is on BT Miner's webpage. And currently, this Antminer will cost you $5,600 for you to be able to purchase it. Now, this is the specialized performance it has regarding hash rate and power. And in this particular case, we will be able to calculate if we are in profits or not at the moment. Now, how do we do that? First of all, we need to input the hash rate of the machine that we are going to be using. In this particular case, this is 1 million hashes. So in this case, we need to actually add 1 mega or 1 million hashes. Also, power consumption, this particular machine is currently using 2,472 watts of power. So we're going to put 2,700. Just let me a second to see one more time. 2472, not to make a mistake. And then, depending on the country that you live in, I have found this webpage to be particularly useful. This is the global petrol prices, which also gives you the electricity prices in different countries. Let's say, just for the sake of the argument, currently we are going to adjust all the prices of all the countries by name. And let's say we are going to be mining, just as an example, in Armenia. So currently, because this is going to be a very large consumption of electricity, probably you will be forced to pay for the business electricity rates. And in this particular case, the business electricity rates for Armenia in dollars are $0.11 per watt. So we're going to implement this as well. And we're going to see if we are in profits or not. Obviously, don't forget, if you are currently working for a pool, you need to also input the pool fee in this particular field. So as you can see, we are currently, as per month, in profits $530. Also, since we have bought this machine for 5,700, we will need 322 days, around 1 year, in this price of the coin, to be able to repay the miner and later on make profit. So keep in mind, this is something I want you to know for any other proof of work mining project. When you're planning to purchase a miner or not, this is the way to check, is it smart or not. Also, regarding the wallets, this is a web page that will be also included in the description of our video. As you can see, Monero has its own wallets depending on the specialized software you're using. Currently, the operating system on your computer, as well as types of electrical device you're using. Is it tablet? Is it laptop? Is it a mobile phone? I would advise to check this webpage and download it directly from their own webpage, Monero. Also, another thing that we need to also mention is that currently the hash rate of Monero is quite good, which means that more and more miners are joining the network. We have had a new all-time high in January of 2026, and we are currently in, I would say, consolidation of the hash rate power, which is also quite impressive since we are in a particular bear market at the time. Now we're going to go a little bit more on the fundamental side, and we're going to talk about some news that are currently popular for this project. The first and most important is that, unfortunately for this project, in August of last year, 1 year ago, there was a successful 51% attack on Monero, which means, as we mentioned before, these pools that are currently gathering hash power have managed to gather more than 51% of the hash rate of this blockchain. What does that mean? That once you do so, you will be able to manipulate the blockchain as you wish. You can private mine a longer chain. Practically, you start authorizing and verifying your own blocks because you have 51% of the power. Execute double spending. Practically, it means that you can pay with the same Monero coins in 2 or 3 spots at the same time, which is actually one of the problems that you might consider weakness of these particular blockchains. Sensor or orphan other miner blocks, which means that, as I said, we have total control of this blockchain. Luckily for us, the entity that did the 51% attack just wanted to prove a point that it is possible to accumulate hash rate power for this particular blockchain to make a 51% attack. The problem is that this is a privacy-driven coin, which means that even if there was any kind of manipulation of the types that we have mentioned before, we will not be able to double check because all the transactions are completely private on this blockchain, and it's no way for us to actually check if there was something done or no. But again, so far we haven't seen any dramatical price drop, which would be one of the main shows of this particular problem. So we are hoping that nothing like that ever happened. Now we can see that if we're talking about the highest rated coins, which are currently using proof of work type of algorithm, obviously on first place is Bitcoin, then comes Bitcoin Cash, Dogecoin, and later on we can see that comes Monero as well. Again, it's not the top, but it is one of the best, I would say, in the sphere. Additionally, what we would mention is that Monero does not have a DAO. This is a decentralized autonomous organization that helps us in particular blockchains to decide in which particular direction will this project go. What they do have is, just like Bitcoin, any fork that is considered to be implemented on the Monero blockchain, even if it starts being implemented, if it will be implemented, the miners are deciding, which means that miners will be the ones deciding if they want to update the Monero blockchain to the newest state. If they don't, then they will be actually splitting the Monero blockchain into another fork because they are not updating to the newest one. So this is something that obviously we need to mention as well. This is how democracy works on the proof of work type of blockchains. Additionally, we have seen this with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, for example. Also, we need to mention that any additional, I would say, decentralized application or any improvement of the blockchain that is done by a single entity can also be done through the community crowdfunding system, the CCS, which actually allows you on the Monero CCS platform. This is the blog where people are actually discussing, voting, and obviously deciding on any particular issues about the blockchain. If you practically have some proposal for this community, you can do so on this platform. And then if this is something that will be accepted with, let's say, more votes yes on the miners, usually you will be allowed to crowdfund your proposal or decentralized application. What it means that the members of this community will be donating to you on a particular address Monero coins for you to be able to fund your project or your upgrade. And currently, Monero is using the C++ programming language for programming anything as well as decentralized application. Around 81% of everything programmed on this blockchain is done with this language. We can see there are some other languages that are used, but mainly C++ is the programming language used on this particular project. Also, unfortunately, regarding this fundamental analysis, what we have to mention is that this particular project is currently being targeted by groups like the FATF and the MiCA blockchain law in Europe. What does that mean? That the institutions are very much against this particular type of technology. As we have mentioned, unfortunately, institutions are not really happy with this type of technology since nothing can be tracked, and it can be very easily used for any illicit activities. As you can see, Binance, OKX, Bittrex, later on Coinbase, Kraken, etc., etc. These are one of the biggest exchanges in the world, centralized exchanges, which have delisted Monero. This is for a reason, obviously. The first hit came from the EU, which European Union have obviously came with the MiCA legislation, which requested every exchange that wants to remain and work in the European Union, they have to delist, first of all, the privacy coins and later on acquire special permits. But delisting the privacy coins, as you can see, worked. Additionally, this recommendation came from the Financial Action Task Force, which is one of the biggest enemies of decentralized finance. This, I would say, global institution is trying their best to stop the progress of this type of technology and remain obviously centralized banking institution oriented global finance. Unfortunately, nothing we can do about it at this particular point. And for this reason, the delisting of the centralized exchanges just made Monero's monopoly of the darknet a lot stronger. Unfortunately, Monero will be used more and more illegally. This is the biggest downside of the, I would say, negative campaign against this technology. Yes, Monero can be used for illicit activities, but no, this technology was never meant to be used for illicit activities. It is just a progress, normal progress of this technology in a privacy-oriented way that every one of us deserves. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the last part about tokenomics. Over here, we're talking about exactly the tokenomics. There is exactly 18.7 million coins in circulation, as we mentioned. Now, unfortunately, there is no burning mechanism. The one that they do have, as we said, is first of all, the decay of the inflation is done and fixed on 0.6 XMR. And additionally, very important, instead of burning mechanism, they have decided that all the fees of every transaction also goes to the miner that will be writing the block, which means that absolutely everything from every new XMR coming in the future is going directly to the miner that will write the block. Sorry, my bad. The inflation is around 0.8%. Again, still better than Bitcoin. Just wanted to say that inflation currently for this project is quite good. Now, when we're talking about technical analysis, we're going to change to a monthly level. We can see that currently this particular blockchain is one of the rare blockchains that had a bull market. Obviously, we can see at the bottom done on June 2022, it did have a new bull market and a new all-time high at $814 per coin, which means that unlike the other projects that unfortunately did not have a bull market in the last cycle, we cannot say the same for the privacy coins, especially for Zcash and for Monero. So good for the project itself. We can see that currently the price is somewhere around the previous all-time highs of the cycle of 2018, 2021. But don't forget that we're still in a bear market with Bitcoin. For this particular reason, we're not trying to do technical analysis on altcoins because it's a bit pointless. The moment we can determine a bottom on the Bitcoin blockchain, we will come back to the technical analysis of the altcoins, especially those that have not made a new all-time high previous cycle and didn't have a bull market. And obviously, we will retest and redo the technical analysis to see what are we expecting are the bottoms in for the altcoins and where is potentially the next mark for the next cycle. Now, we are going to be talking again a little bit back at the fundamental analysis. First of all, unfortunately, on CoinMarketCap, we did not find any useful information whatsoever regarding XMR. More of this information we already have managed to find in the previous tabs that we have passed. As you know, obviously, since there is no pre-mine tokens, there is no vesting schedule, obviously, there will be nothing on Tokenomist. I just wanted to show you so you know that there is nothing in the background, obviously, that we are not showing you. Same goes for Monero. There is absolutely no information, as you can see, for this particular blockchain. As well, there is nothing tokenized on this blockchain. Again, this is part of the fundamental analysis and the closeness of this project with institutions. Are there any institutions involved in using it or investing in it? So as we know, privacy is not the biggest high selling point for institutions. For this particular reason, I think that institutional support for this blockchain will be non-existent, at least not in the near future. Also, there is no spot ETF applications, neither future ETF applications for this particular project. For this reason, we're not going to be finding it here. We did find, however, a company that is currently implementing DAT or digital asset treasuries for Zcash. If this was done for Zcash, then it's possibility that in the future we will have something for Monero as well. But until this point, unfortunately, there has not been one. Additionally, there are no information when we're talking about the decentralized finance, DeFi. Why? Because we're talking about privacy blockchain. So all the transactions, all the, I would say, amounts of this coin on all the decentralized applications and wallets are null and void. You cannot see them, which means in this case, obviously, we will not be able to have any data about the DeFi projects. As well, unfortunately, we cannot find the speed of this blockchain as well when we wrote Monero or when we wrote XMR. We cannot find any particular information about it. So this, unfortunately, is a big minus, I would say, for the project. We're going to show you why, but good for us that we have managed to actually find we have managed to find an information on the artificial intelligence, which shows us that currently this blockchain is having around just 4 to 5 transactions per second. So if we need to see this in the real transaction, real-time TPS for every blockchain, we can see that in the range of 4 to 5 transactions per second is actually quite good, because he is in the same spot as Hedera, Tezos, Multiverse, Starknet, etc., which means that he is around the 20th fastest blockchain in the world in any case, even with this small amount of TPS. Don't forget, the important amount is the actual, real transactions per second, not the theoretical one. Unfortunately, we haven't found anything in token terminal as well. We have these basic metrics about token turnover and market cap, but unfortunately, nothing special, nothing more. This is the only thing we have found for this blockchain. The privacy is also, as you can see, affecting, in this case, all the metrics that we can find for this blockchain. What we also found, which is quite good, is that currently, unlike the first currently ranked privacy coin, Zcash, which is 14th place, in scripts deposited to the GitHub, I would say, application, we can see that Monero is on the 44th place for development. But still, we can see that it's constantly being developed. These are the commits that are currently being implemented on Monero on a monthly basis. So it is an active blockchain. For some reason, unfortunately, Arkham, it wasn't working. Let's see if it will give us some information. Now, looks like it will. Now we're going to check if there is anything under Monero. Unfortunately, these are private profiles, which means it's nothing connected to Monero. Usually we get information from Arkham Intelligence if there is anything on the side of practically the foundation or the creators of Monero. Obviously, there is no information whatsoever, which is actually good. In this particular case, we can assume that everything is practically mined naturally in a grassroots movement. So obviously, potentially, there will be no massive wallets with massive amounts of Monero. We can see that there is 100 full-time developers that are working on this project, which with around 307 which are working on a monthly basis, from which around 158 are well established, which means that they have been working for a very long time on this project. Again, it puts it somewhere on the top of the current list of most developers working on a project. Currently, as you can see, this is around 10 to 15 range, which is Monero currently. I would say even 20. But again, look at the other layer ones that are currently also in the same spot. Ton, Hedera, Internet Computer, Aptos, Tron, Chainlink wouldn't say it's a layer 1, XRP. These are all with same amount of developers, which puts it in a very, very good company. Decentralization, unfortunately, we didn't find a lot of information. Obviously, why? Because we're talking about, believe it or not, privacy coin. So obviously, we can see that there is no information about the largest holding wallets of this coin, obviously. And the last thing we need to mention that there is still an explorer where you can actually check all the transactions you have on this blockchain, which is the localmonero.co/blocks, where you can actually find all the transactions currently being implemented on the blockchain itself. Now, we do need to also mention where is currently this blockchain purchased, where you can actually find it. What you can do is just go to CoinGecko and scroll down until you find the exchanges where you can actually still buy. Now, we can see that Kraken was mentioned as the listed exchange, but potentially this is something that is only implemented in EU. So obviously you need to check. But other than that, KuCoin, HTX, Poloniex, we can see there are still some big MEXC, for example, big exchanges that are currently selling it, as well as you can also find it on the decentralized exchanges. I would advise to be very careful when you're planning to buy this particular blockchain or coin, because it can lead to your portfolio or your wallet being flagged. So please, if you have to and you want to purchase this coin, I would advise buying a separate cold wallet and holding it separately from your other portfolio, so you don't get flagged by institutions like the European Union, which will potentially later on forbid you from using any other centralized exchanges since you've been using privacy coins. Now, with this, we are going to finish the video for today. I hope that you enjoyed, and I would advise you again to follow us on Crypto Economics on YouTube and the social media that you can see on the YouTube webpage as well. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Have a good day from the warm Malta and from the Crypto Economics channel.